So one of the difficulties with ham radio is that the antenna has to be matched to the transmitter. You can put these little boxes in between antenna tuners, and they can take care of some of the mismatch, but generally it's better to have antenna that is at least close to matching the transmitter without using one of those. Sometimes an antenna can be used for several frequencies, and that's where it comes in nicely that you have that antenna tuner to move it around for different ones. But so how in the world do we do that? Well, we get an antenna analyzer. So you look around for those, and I would think some of them typically, like the type that MFJ sells or some of these other companies, they're like, you'd be lucky if you found one of them $300 used. I mean, they're expensive little items. So what we do is we pick up this for $40 off eBay or whatever. No, I don't think I got it from eBay. I forget. Well, anyway, it's the NanoVNA. This is the Model H. This is a model that is got a little teeny screen. The new ones are bigger screens, and they've got brighter screens. So, but I went for the lowest price one I could get, so it was $40. So what this allows us to do is do everything and more, and sometimes quicker than what these antenna analyzers do. Some of them you would have to kind of connect it, then you pick a certain range and then you get values, change the frequency a little, get values, and then you could plot a curve, or you can just get the curve on the screen. So I'm not going to show a lot about this because, frankly, I had trouble calibrating it because I was missing some steps. So maybe later on we'll do one where we actually talk about calibrating it, but I'm going to have videos before that you can do. So basically what you're going to do with this is we're going to take this Yaesu 2 meter 440 rubber ducky, and we're going to measure and see how close it is to the frequency that we want to use it on. So in this particular case, I'm going to have to use an adapter to fit it on. And there we go. Let's turn it on first so you can see. See that little screen? It's lit up. Maybe if I hold it, I gotta try to get rid of some of my reflection. There we go. See that yellow line? Now, this has been set up to do one thing only, and that's to measure SWR. That is a ratio of output power to reflected power. And of course you want all that power going out, because if you're using a weak signal means like I'm going to do, or to protect your transmitter, you don't want that coming back. So it's good. Technically, a perfect antenna is 1-to-1, but some antennas might, on different bands, because you use them multi-bands or whatever, it might go up to 2-to-1. But like I say, if you're using QRP or low transmitting power output, usually less than 5 watts, you want to kind of capture all of that and make sure it goes out through the antenna. And walkie-talkies too. My Yaesu, this was my first ham radio. I got it at a yard sale for $50. And this is a beast. This is really a good one. You see me in some of my other videos with the Yaesu. Well, this is with the Bofang or whatever it is. This is the original radio that I had. I bent the antenna a little, but works perfect still. And I've had different antennas for this, and I've got adapters, which I'll go through some things because now we can do some matching and show. But so here it is. And this is the FT470. It's a much older radio. So what I'm trying to think now, I've had my license for at least 10 years, and I don't know if I'm on the second cycle or not, but this was very used 10 years ago. So the other thing about this is, okay, with a SWR meter, you kind of have to insert it between the two things here, okay? That's a less expensive item, but you do it between the two. You keep making adjustments till you get that to one as close as you can. But that means you need the transmitter at the same time. Well, when you have an antenna analyzer, all you need is this, the antenna, and of course, proper way to connect it. So you've seen that. Here's a connector that's going to work with me. This is SMA type, and this is the older BNC type. Well, older as far as what's used in amateur radio now. A lot of things are SMA connectors, especially for walkie-talkies. So we're going to put that on, and then the BCN connector here, we're going to be careful to not stress this too much. Now look at this. We've got this big dip. Now I set this up for, because I had two antennas I was going to check. I set it up for 10 meters, and I set it up for 144 meters. Now, we can take, see, and really to show this better, I should have had the range further so you would see that this goes sharply down and sharply up. But we can take this cursor and we can move that little dot to the bottom of the curve. Oh, not quite the bottom. I think I've got a little loose connection here. It's jumping a little bit. But if I get it near the bottom of that curve, I can just go up here and read out that the SWR is, let me see it, get it down to one, is 1 to 1.3, 1.2, 1.3. So that's not bad. And now if we were doing antenna, it's good to check an antenna with, but you can also construct your own antennas. And typically, you can take an antenna and you make it for a certain length for the transmission frequency, and this you can use it for. You would take this, say we put this on a wire antenna. I'm going to show you here another attachment I'm going to do for that. Here we have we got the BNC, and then we've got two wire connectors here, or we'll do banana plugs too. But the idea is I can run a wire off of this end, a wire off of this end, and make a dipole. But how long do we make it? Well, we look at in books, and we can see that for 10 meters to a certain kind of antenna, they're supposed to be 16.4 feet. Well, you make them a little longer than that, and then you take this device, and it will allow you to set it up exactly for the right frequency, because there's different things to be considered. How thick the wire is, how, what shape the wire is eventually going to be in. Is one wire going to be, vertical and one horizontal? Typically they're supposed to, for a dipole to really work well, they're supposed to be two legs, and they're supposed to at least be a wavelength or so above the earth. So this is going to be, we're going to be able to check this. We'll see that dip that we saw, or if we don't see it deep enough, or we see it in the wrong place, we can adjust our antenna accordingly. And with simple wire antennas, that's usually done with length. Now, you can get into more complicated things where you're actually putting coils on antenna, so you're electrically changing their length, even though their physical length, when you measure it, is the same. So there's all kinds of tricks, but the idea that you can own something for only $40 that does this gives you, this does more than one of those old antenna analyzers. And, maybe we'll talk more about that, but this does a Smith chart too, which is a way for you to see the capacitance and the inductance of an antenna, and that can give you more feel of what you want to do and how you want to adjust it. But just using it as this simple SWR meter, you just see it, it shows the dip, hopefully the dip goes down as far as you want it to, and if it doesn't, you change it. And it's just really convenient to use. And like I said, there's other this does things that I could never figure out. Let me put it that way. I'm following this users group, and I say, oh yeah, I want to measure the inductance of a coil, and all of these things. And it's like they have a lot of use if you're into electrical engineering, and Latipo Cam is probably usually going to use just the SWR and the Smith chart. But if you're designing filters, sometimes you'll be really close to other stations, even if they're AM broadcast station, depending on or FM, depending on the quality of your transmitter and how close they are and everything. That noise might come through, even just as noise, and not make your ham radio not work as well. Well, we can put this filter in that will reject everything above a certain frequency and everything below a certain frequency, maybe. So if we're using the 10 meter band and we've got this, we're somewhere where there's someone, 100 feet away from us with a 20 meter transmitter, we can kind of negate the fact that signal's there. And again, if we, depending on the quality of the radios and all this stuff, you can get this spillover where you actually, because the signal's so strong, it comes into your receiver even when you're not tuned to that frequency, and you'll be able to hear that. And that's not good. I know one time, it's funny, I was in my brother's apartment. This was many years ago, and the stereo was on low. And this guy drove by the house, and I heard him talking in his car. He must have been on a CB radio, but he must have been one of those ones with these, they call them heaters, but linear amplifiers. So instead of putting the 4 watts out, he was probably, who knows what he had going out. They're very illegal, and the FCC does catch people with them. And you don't want to mess with the FCC. They take a while to get you, but if they do get you, their favorite price to start with for fines is like $7,000. And if you're lucky, you can get out of it by, giving them all your radio equipment, and you're banned from using ham radio equipment for the rest of your life. That's the cheapest way you can get out of these things. Some of them are the fines are really high, especially if you're running things so sloppy that you're interfering with emergency communication channels like the police and fire. My goodness, that you don't want to be doing, I'll tell you. But anyway, back to this very inexpensive piece of equipment. There's a lot of videos on how to do it, although, like I say, I wasn't following it correctly, and it took me a while to figure it out. But having this just is going to allow you to do so much more. You can fiddle with antennas, making them, and you conceivably, I could make an antenna for a frequency I don't even have, and then someone else could use it, and it would be right because of this. Just a good gadget. NanoVNA Vector Network Analyzer, and this is the H model, one of the early inexpensive models. I didn't even know if there are more of these or what, but it's really neat. And if you have that desire, maybe to, like I do, maybe to fool with some antennas, make things out of wire, rather than aerials and these masts and all these things that some people have, this is going to be a fun tool to use. This one goes up quite far, but the newer ones go up even further. So if you want to go into the 2.3 gigahertz and different things like that, which, if you're going to work with routers and things, in your house and doing things like that, they'll have the range that they cover, so that the other ones do cover higher up. But this covers everything that I'm pretty sure I'll need in my lifetime. Bye.